Hello again, Mark with Mark's Minerals today. How are you? I was thinking how much I want to put together a beginning to end video. Carving a stone from beginning to end, it's ideal, but the fact is I can put 100 hours into a stone. So when you're thinking, why isn't my stone, looking as good as so-and-so's? Maybe they've already put in 50 hours or 30 hours or 20 hours. So don't get bummed out if you've put 3 hours into a stone and it's not perfect, because that's pretty remarkable. You can teach me something. All right. There are ways of getting around it. There are specialized tools that would make it easier, but they're prohibitively expensive if you're just figuring it out. For starters, I don't even like to push those tools because they wear out quickly if you don't use them properly. And they wear out quickly anyway, so you only can use top-notch material right when you're ready to get into the color and have everything done. Why fire agate? Why do I keep pushing fire agate? Sometimes, I guess that's what separates a rock person from a non-rock person. Who's going to look at this hunk of brown junk on the ground and then think, oh, I'm going to pick that up and I'm going to make that shine? Somebody at some point saw some potential in there and thought, oh my God, I can see something. You can't even really tell, but, maybe they came back one day after the rock had weathered out a little bit and it rained a little bit, and then they just started to see a spark of color. Well, let's see what they saw. And carve some stones together. But we'll get around to more of that. One of the things I do want to talk about is basic safety. It's the most important thing. Usually I've got an air purifier going on in here so it can suck up the excess rock dust. I'm wearing a respirator. An N95 mask or better is good enough. That'll remove enough particulates so you don't have to worry about getting silicosis or breathing in some other toxic fumes from some of the rocks you're cutting. There's some beautiful minerals out here. People send me great specimens, beautiful rocks. This one's called Kaleidoscope Agate. It's got a mix of really terrible stuff in there. It's like asbestos and the base of mercury. It'll come to me. But there's stones that when you start to heat them up and when you start to grind them, they start to release different toxins into the atmosphere and into your lungs if you're not careful. So besides the mask, a visor, I'm usually working this far away from a stone when I'm doing my close-up work. That's why it's not really cool to be trying to do videos. It's not conducive to interesting film. I've got this bladder back here. I've got about 2 or 3 liters that I jerry-rigged into a dialysis drain bag, and then I got some basic irrigation tubing and a little spigot and rigged everything together with a little bit of Gorilla Glue so that now I have a steady drip of water while I'm working. I can adjust that. Sometimes I don't want to use water. Certain tools I'll use mineral oil or petroleum jelly like Vaseline. It creates a stable slurry that starts to trap rock particles. So not only are you grinding with whatever medium is trapped inside your cutting bit, for example, Diamond Pacific makes these Nova points, and so this resin is impregnated with little diamond pieces. Depending on the color, you can gauge the grit. Those are great. Those are great for close-up finishing work. They're not that expensive. They're about $9, $8 or $9 a piece. You can get a set of 4 for like $35, $40 with shipping. and they'll last a long time if you're careful. Not using too much pressure, not going too fast. Your bits will last you a lot longer if you're not rushing them. Your hands will last you a lot longer. Every 10 or 15 minutes I'm taking breaks. I have to stretch my hands out. Make sure you don't hyperextend your fingers. You don't want to wind up with carpal tunnel syndrome. And these are very important tools, so don't blow it. All right, let's see, what else am I using? In the background, you'll see these. I have two different flex shafts that I have set up. I have a Fordham Fordham TX, Fordham TX and a Chicago Electric flex shaft. The Chicago Electric was about $40 or $50, plus I popped for the 2-year insurance policy, which was another $10 or so. And I had replaced them a couple of times while I was getting used to how to use a flex shaft. The Fordham is significantly more expensive, significantly more durable. I've jerry-rigged a little plastic tote, cut some armholes out, put a piece of 1/8 inch plexiglass over the top, and so when I'm filming, just set the camera right on top, and that's what you're looking through. Anyhow, sorry, being a goofball. These rocks are amazing. I got addicted to rocks. I've been loving rocks since I was about 5 years old, but now I get to play with them for a living. It's just amazing, just remarkable, and thank you all for making that happen. Alrighty. Usually the music is blasting because the machines are loud, so I may as well combat it with some music. But I don't have rights to all the music I listen to, so we're backing away from that. Let's see. Drink plenty of water. I have. Let's see. All right, I'm going to grab the camera and we'll just pan around the table for a little bit, then we'll get into some rocks. All right, so here we are into some of that rough. Again, this was that piece that I got wet. You can start to see some of the things after they've been soaking for a while. They're remarkable. Usually I'll soak my rocks for a couple of days before I get around to them, and it just helps me to, let's see if we can zoom in a bit. It gives me a much better idea of what I'm looking for. You can start to see those ridges, the orange, the green, the red. Oh, there they are. And this is really poor lighting, but let's zoom back out. A good supply of rough. Different types of material from different locations, from different people, mined at different times and dates. Some gifts, some projects that I'm trying to work on for other people. Wastewater. Sometimes I've got to heat up the dop wax just to get it going. Energy drinks because I love caffeine. Some extra dop sticks. These are what I use as just a section of dowel. And then this type of wax, it's a specialized wax, dop wax, DOP wax. And this is used to secure the stone to this rock when they're small, when they're just too small to be worked. There we go. I jerry rig a lot of stuff. I have this little thing where I can set the stone on there. I got to heat up the stone. I've got to heat up the wax. I've got to secure it. Anyhow, I believe in saving money when you can. Just it's a hobby. It should be fun. So don't beat yourself up over it. And then until I get the perfect color, let's see. Until the color is just right, I don't like to call the stone done. I can see flashes of green and purple in there, but it's not quite ready yet. I still have to go in there, maybe define those lines, sand down a little deeper, polish a little deeper until it's bright. So that one's not done yet. I have a couple of stones like that, and then some that I thought were done, and then I'll just go back and finish them. All right, so as far as the Nova points, they also make these little wheels. Pink is 3,000 grit, gray is 1,200, brown is 6, and then black, I think it's 280. And then up front, there's some pretty used up. These are the Diaflex, or the thick ones, and the Diathin, or the thin ones. Those are both by VH Technologies. They also make a product called Diashine, which is a polish that's pretty amazing for a tube this size. This is Diamond Pacific Diamond Super Polish. This is 14,000 grit. This stuff is amazing, and I thought it was pretty expensive at $25 for a little container for 3 grams, because I was getting these polishes from China, THK, Hong Kong Tools, and you could get an assortment of maybe 7 different types of polish. I think it's like $25 or something. I try to keep everything separated because you don't want to contaminate one polish with the other. But then if you were to get the Diashine, you're probably looking at 120 or 130 bucks. That's the whole thing. You can cut a lot faster if you've got a lot of money to be doing it. An assortment of, these are all the sintered bits that I have, and I keep my sintered separate from my non-sintered, and also by thickness. These shafts are, I think that's a 5mm shaft. So there's a 5, and then a 3.5, and these are the ones that I can use with my quick change handle. This is just a knockoff quick change handle. You see this? I can flip it up and down, and when it's up or down, the bit releases and I can take her out of there. Swap these out. I have some much smaller bits. These are 1.6mm, and you can get that to focus. Come on now. There you go. And those are for some very detailed work. So in that case, I actually have to change the collier, C-O-L-L-I-E-R, I believe, collier that's in there. It's alright, it's having a hard time focusing right now. There we go. Yeah, let's see. And just an assortment of different bits. I have some that I've created out of leather, out of wood, and these are just for buffing, getting scratches out without causing any deep tool marks. I tried out these 3M bristle brushes, wasn't really fond of them, but every once in a while I can use them in combination with a coarse polish and it works. Let's see. Screwdrivers, assorted chisels and stuff, they come in handy. Sandpaper, one of my favorite tools, the little torch for heating up the dop wax. Different toothpicks, chopsticks, and wooden Q-tips to apply polish, to clean. The whole petroleum jelly, I don't want to use brand names and get busted. A lot of projects in the works. Some projects that are kind of in the works, some are really close, some are not so finished. But, come on now. See, there's a lot of beauty in these things, and that's the thing. This isn't even one of the best ones, and it's not quite done yet. But when all is said and done, there's a lot of potential. Alright, sorry for banging and clanking around. These things, these gooseneck lamps, are remarkable. You can just clamp them onto your workbench, and while you're working, you've got a light source and magnification. You can see where I've jerry-rigged the water spigot. Let's go down and look at what we got here. Here's one that a friend gave me to work on. It's a gift from my friend Dean LaPerna. This guy is amazing. He's a lawyer down in Arizona who's amassed a gorgeous collection of fire agate. So, yeah. Let's see. They're all at different stages. I like working multiple stones to roughly the same stage, and then at one point one will speak to me, one will say I want to finish, and then I'll just take and run with it. So you'll notice that I try to get them all to a uniform place, and then when the notion strikes me, I just finish her off. Alrighty. Let's pause for a second. So some of these chalcedony formations and the crystal formations are just beautiful. And when I sit with a stone, or when I first get a stone and I'm thinking about carving it, I'll soak it in water for a few days, and then I'll just sit and rotate it in the sun and in different types of lighting, get a feel for it, and know where I want to start my carving, how deep I have to go. There's a lip. And you can candle it. You put it behind put a bright light source behind it. Let's see if we can see this? And it'll give you the outline of the stone, what can be removed safely. I'd still cut above that because the colors can run up into the chalcedony. So I'm not going to do the whole stone, but I'm going to give you an idea of what I'm going to do. How I remove this quickly to get down to a windowed stone. And that's what I consider a window. Nice, smooth, basic outline where I'm really close to the color, but not quite there. I still have that little layer that I have to get through, this white that appears brown right up above it. It just shadows it. So I won't touch any place where there's color. I'll only go over the brown until it's uniform to about there, where there's a little hint of color. Alright, one of the tools that I enjoy using, or need to use quite a bit I find, are these little diamond discs. This one's about a 25 millimeter diamond disc. They come in 10 packs from China. I like the ones that don't have the little slats or holes in them. I like the ones that are solid. And so I use those, and then sometimes they have these really large 50 millimeter ones that are a lot more, a lot bigger. They'll do the job too, and they'll have their purposes. They make tiny ones, and those are good for some close detailed cutting. You have to be comfortable with this, and you have to be incredibly safe. At this point it kicks up a lot of dust, so you should definitely be wearing a mask at this point. And for the sake of the video, for some reason I'm not. So, like I said, I'm not going to do much, but I'll show you what I'm going to do. Here it gets loud. Sorry about this. And it gets messy. So, pretty steady stream of water. You want uniform pressure. Whoops. Oh my, that's going to happen, isn't it? That's one thing I like about the plexiglass. Let's see if I can get a kind of a cleaner cut from an angle. Alright. See, this is one of the problems with these things. Sometimes they're it's a good one, and then sometimes they're terrible. You can get a more expensive one. This one is Sintered. This is Heiko. This is also $40 wheel. So instead of the 10-pack for $4. They don't last forever either, but they tend to be a lot sharper for a longer time. You don't need much pressure, and you want to keep your blades straight. You don't want to be going back and forth. I like to cut a grid, and I like to cut to a fairly uniform depth above the agate. I'm not in a rush. Slow and steady wins the race, and you don't lose any fingers. There are people who do this style of cutting called fire wrap, is what it's been coined and nicknamed. It's pretty cool looking, where they'll do these patterns that I really enjoy the way they look, but it's not for me. They get some great results though. There are companies that you can also check that offer sintered bits and sintered diamond cutting wheels. I believe Mountain Mist has a selection. You just have to be extremely careful, because if you apply too much pressure or you bend it too much, the spin wheel will explode into small fragments and you'll wind up getting cut. If you start to feel a drag or see smoke, you'll know that something's wrong. You got to be able to read your stone. All right, let's get this turned off for a second. Let's give this a little wipe down. These sponges are great. They help me as I go. Then let's clean that out a bit. You see this grid that I cut? Well, I can come in with a little tool and start to pressure flake these things out of there. This is much easier if I'm using the other wheels to get started, because the other wheels are much wider, so there's a bigger gap for me to get a bigger screwdriver, and this isn't going to work. Hang on. Let's see. There we go. See, they just start to pop out of there. And we go. See, this shows you an idea of what I do. And I'll cut down to here. I'll check the stone again. I'll do another assessment, and I'll cut down to here, and I'll cut down to here. But I'm only going to work this section, so let's do a little more cutting. Back out a little. Bear with me. Oh shoot, sorry. Yeah, sometimes I'm staring at the stone and I don't even see how messy the screen's getting. Back the water off again. This all goes very, very quickly. So you would be doing this pretty steadily over the stone. This doesn't take as long, but you can only do it to a certain depth. You don't want to risk damaging the stone. And I don't just use everybody's, nice chisel or nice screwdriver. I use these dedicated for my rocks. These are my rock screwdrivers and my rock chisels, so please don't scold me for using tools improperly. That's what I've intended them for, so they are being used properly. Okie doke. Well, this is a big old knobby one that's going to take a while to get through. So let's show what happens next. We've started to remove all of this, and then we're coming in, and again, we're still using coarse at this point. This thing is a 60 grit or 80 grit diamond bonded, no longer diamond sintered bit. And these you can get a pack of 50 for about $20 or $25 at Harbor Freight, Amazon, eBay. Just diamond bonded or diamond electroplated cutting bit. And if you put in 5mm, they should pop up. Oops. Make sure you're not using the wrong one. Again, for the sake of the video, I'm not paying as close attention as I should. Well, let's work on the one I was just working on. Alright, so once I've cut all this, then I don't want to touch the bright spots, but I can come in on the dark spots. I'm just basically smoothing this out. Nice, slow, little circles, and only where it appears dark. Try to run the surface uniformly so that you get that uniform wear. You don't want any deep dips or dives unless there's a valley in the agate, which can happen. And I've shown this in my videos before, so I'm just basically giving you an idea of what I do to bring it to a windowed stone. Clear that off again. Alright, so I noticed that this video is starting to run long. So assuming that this stone is windowed, let's go ahead and move on to what the next step is.